Welcome. This brief video will be an overview of the case Montoy versus the state of Kansas. The plaintiffs, Eric and Ryan Montoy, along with 3 school districts and 36 students listed specifically, sought action against the defendants, the state of Kansas, to include the governor, Board of Education, and several legislators. Case details can be found at this URL. The plaintiffs sought the following actions in this appeal to the Supreme Court of Kansas. They wanted the court to find the state of Kansas in violation of the Constitution for failing to provide appropriate financial support to give an adequate education to all students under equal rights protection clauses in the state constitution. They also wanted the Supreme Court of Kansas to find the trial court's decision to be in violation of their due process rights. And they wanted the court to rule that the existing finance system and funding formula for the state of Kansas was unconstitutional, again citing their equal rights protection. The basic case facts. This case was appealed to the Kansas Supreme Court. The plaintiffs asserted that the trial court violated their right to due process after a short 8-day trial, claiming that they were not given the opportunity to provide all evidence. The plaintiffs asserted that the existing funding formula was just causing an exacerbated inequitable funding of school districts in Kansas, and that it must be modified in order to provide the equitable educational opportunity to all students. After hearing this appeal, the court made the final decisions. The existing finance system was in fact inadequate. They ordered reforms be made by July 1 of 2005 to allow for implementation in the upcoming academic and fiscal year. They did determine the legislature failed to meet the burden as outlined in the state's constitution to make adequate provisions to finance public schools. Their rationale for these findings were that the School District Finance and Quality Performance Act, the SDFQPA, doesn't violate the equal protection clauses of the state or federal constitution, but it is in fact inadequate. They stated disparities among minorities cannot be linked directly to a discriminatory act on part of the state, but they must be addressed in order to provide equitable educational opportunities for all students. While changes had been made among the financing system and the funding formula, there had been significant societal and economic changes within the state that required this formula to be reviewed and adjusted on an annual basis. The state handed down these decisions at the trial court level on November 21st of 2001. The Supreme Court of Kansas handed their decision down on January 3rd, 2005. They subsequently added an additional decision on funding specifically in April of that same year. The state addressed the fact that they must make reforms to ensure adequate, equitable resources for all public school students in order for them to receive meaningful opportunities to achieve the academic standards as outlined in the state constitution. So why is this significant to education? This ruling determined that the state must meet that burden of financing public education, and they must do it equitably. Finance systems and funding formulas must be reviewed regularly and to ensure that burden is being met. The world around us changes, and therefore adjustments need to be made to the funding formula to ensure the state is meeting their burden. Even if inequities are not intentional or based on a single or multiple discriminatory acts, the legislature must do everything in their power to act and to alleviate these disparities among students and student groups. State must make accommodations to that funding formula to address the fact that some categories of students require additional funding. This is why the state Supreme Court issued that additional ruling in April of 2005. Thank you.